I went to Germany in a town near Cologne, and I taught English in a German secondary school. I chose teaching. We had a choice of teaching, studying or working, and I chose teaching because working you have to find your own placement, whereas teaching it's all sorted for you, and it's a good experience in that you can say you've worked in a different country rather than just studying. It seemed to have a bit more credibility for me than just studying, and it's a chance to work with German people rather than with other exchange students. There wasn't really anything that surprised me, just how difficult it is to settle in at first. Everyone says it's really hard, but it gets better, and you don't believe them. And it really is hard, but it really does get better. So it's definitely worth doing. It's worth sticking it out, because a lot of people I know, or about 3 or 4 people on my course, got to their 3rd week and then came home because they didn't like it. And I would have done that if my parents had let me, and they didn't. They made me stay. And I'm glad they did, because I did enjoy it. And it's a really good life experience that people are quite like, oh, you've lived in a different country. It's nice that people sort of admire it, which is good. I would definitely recommend it, and I would say that even if you have quite low confidence, I had really low confidence. I still do struggle a bit with confidence, but you have to just push yourself, push through the difficult patch, and it is really worth it. Before I went, I was dreading it, and I was having like hypnotherapy because I was overthinking it. I was getting irrational over it. But the first 4 weeks, get the first term out of the way. That was 5 weeks long, and it's fine. The thought of going back isn't as scary because you can just take it a bit at a time. So I would definitely say, just don't go thinking that it's going to be fantastic from the beginning, because it is difficult to begin with, because you struggle with money. You have to make sure you have, like, we were told to take between 1,000 and 1,500 euros. So I took 1,500, and I could have done with an extra 500 because my wage didn't come in till the 2nd term. So I was, towards the end of the term, I was living really close to my, sort of gradually running more and more out of money. So it's just worth it. You can't really, until you've experienced it, you can't say how good it is. And when people tell you, oh, it's really good, you have to do it, then they don't believe you. So you have to just experience it, but just get through the first bit. That's the only way you're going to get through it. Yeah, the atmosphere in the school was really good. It was a really open staff room. They seemed to have a lot of tables where they sort of gave me my own seat at a table, and there was another assistant who was Romanian, but she was fluent in English. So we got on really, really well, which was nice, and we lived in the same building. So that was really good. And then in Germany, they have a lot of student teachers. So each year they bring in, say, 6 or 7 student teachers who are round about the same age as me, about in their early 20s, who are in their final year of studies and who have to have a placement in a school. So they're with you for the whole year. So they tend to sit you all on the same table because you're the same age, and because you're all new, you tend to get on a lot better. So you organise stuff with yourselves, like socialising, and there's a lot of festivals in Germany that are really popular. So because they're all German, it's a really good chance for you to completely embrace the culture, because they want you to see what Germany's like. So it's a really, really calm atmosphere. It wasn't as tense as I thought it would be. I thought sitting in a staff room would be quite oppressive and just I have to sit and be quiet. But it was really good. You could sit and talk, and it was enjoyable. I registered with the university and got a free travel card for the train, so I could go all over my region for free. So I did, whenever I was in Germany, the days I had off, I went to a different town each time just to explore. It was a really good experience to just throw myself in and get used to living in the real world. I think working abroad helped my studies because it's made me more aware of how much work I actually do at uni. Because when I worked as a teacher, I only worked 12 to 18 hours a week. It depended on my timetable. But being at university, I'm sort of at university for that time, plus then I do the work on top. So I think it's helped me get a bit more perspective on my degree and think, actually, I do need to work a lot harder, and I do need to focus on my studies rather than sort of being at university and then like, yeah, that'll do for now, I'll just do nothing. So I did a lot of work when I was abroad on exercises and like grammar exercises just to keep the level of German up, because you use it in Germany but you don't use it in the same way that you do in a classroom, so it's a lot different. My year abroad helped me with my definitely with my independence. I had to completely live by myself and fend for myself. Things like opening bank accounts, which I've done in England, but only when I was about 11 and my mum helped me. So even simple things like that you think would be simple, you have all the paperwork come through, you have to sign and make sure you send it to the right people. It definitely helped my confidence, because going into a completely new environment like a school, especially when you're not confident with the language and you're worried that a lot of the teachers are going to almost use you, you're frightened that a lot of them are going to just give you work to give you work, which they didn't, but you don't want to be taken advantage of just because you speak English. But they were all really, really friendly, but it definitely helps your confidence for just standing up in front of a classroom and telling the students. You have to be so confident in yourself to say this is the grammar rule, especially when it's a language that's native to you. You don't necessarily know why something is as it is. It just is to you. So you have to think of ways to explain it that makes sense to someone that's not natively English or doesn't speak your native language. So it helps you with sort of improvisation as well, and thinking on your feet. You have to just come up with an answer out of thin air for something that's completely random and you never think you'd be asked. But they just ask you anything. They don't care. I think it would definitely improve my employment prospects in that you stand slightly ahead of other candidates, because I'm doing German and drama. My worry was if I just did a drama degree, that employers will see it as a soft subject, and I know it's not, and I don't think it is, but that's how employers see it. If you do drama, you're not doing English or you're not doing history. So that was one of the reasons I added the German on, and the year abroad then gives you that extra bump against another candidate. If you've got someone that studied just drama opposite you, you stand a better chance because you've had that extra year of experience working somewhere else, and you're just generally more culturally aware. I think you're aware that there are other people in the world, which sounds really cheesy, but you think about how other people react to things and understand things when you've lived somewhere who don't understand your native language completely. So I think it's definitely changed how I appreciate other people, especially other cultures. When I'm on holiday now, you're aware that people have different cultural beliefs, whereas before you wouldn't necessarily consider, oh, well, maybe they're doing that because it's part of their culture. Whereas living in a different country, in Germany, they have Sundays, and when I mean that everything's closed on Sundays. They just have it as a complete day of rest. So you can't just nip down the shops and get some milk. If you don't have milk, then you have to wait till Monday. And then if Monday's bank holiday, you have to wait till Tuesday. So it's definitely made me appreciate more that there are really strong beliefs in other countries and strong traditions that we don't necessarily still have. You can go anywhere in England on a Sunday. It's not a day of rest anymore. So it makes you appreciate how parts of the world have their own. Even somewhere like Germany, it's like an hour on the plane, but it has such different traditions and culture, and you wouldn't think it would because it's still a first world country, it's still Europe, it's still accessible, but it's so different, which is good, but you'd have to just appreciate that people do things differently to how you would normally do them. I think my language skills completely developed while I was over there. My whole time in Germany, I felt almost each day I could feel myself a bit more confident, and things like if I needed to go and get something specific from the shops, I would just double check the word before I left and thought I don't want to make a fool of myself. But things like that, just checking the word and then you know it, and because you've used it with someone who speaks German, it's in your head a lot more. Whereas if you say at school, it's just you learn 25 words in one go, you're going to forget half of them within a week. Whereas using one or two words and then trying to build them into your vocabulary while you're living there, my language improved vastly. I was so confident when I left. I was walking down the street, like going into every shop just because I could ask for it in German. And even if they know you're English, because a lot of them do, they can just tell by looking at you that you're not German. But they do let you. At first, if they can see you're struggling, then they do just tell me in English, because they can speak it a lot better than I can speak German. But towards the end, I was so much more confident. There was loads of support from Kent. We got emails asking if we needed any help. I personally didn't use the service because I felt that my family could provide me more help than the university could, because they understood me a bit better. But if I didn't have the family, then I definitely would use them. We had a tutor come out to see us. Mine came in October time, so after you've settled in, hopefully you've got all your accommodation sorted and everything. And if not, then that's what they came over for. But they came just to check that you're eating and that you're still alive, and take you out for dinner, which is nice. But the school, I was assigned a tutor in my school who was in English. I think she was head of English. So she was always there. If I needed anything, I knew that I could ask her. I had a couple of problems with my bank account because it hadn't registered properly, and she sorted it out straight away. She sent an email to the bank and she just sorted it for me, it's nice to have that knowledge that if there's something wrong, there is someone in the country to help you, rather than thinking, right, well, I'm in Germany, but my parents are in England, so if there's something wrong, I've got to wait like 2-3 hours for them to get here. So it's nice to have that phone number on your phone and just know that any time you can ring them